Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Listen, we're going to have two people from band Sick of It All. They're one of my favorite bands. It's going to be Armand, he's a drummer, and it's going to be Craig, he's a bass player. So I listened to them a million times. I sent them food when they were on the road, but I never met them. So I'm really excited. Armand is vegan and Craig is eating this plant-based too. So I really want to show them what we do at Organic Grill. I love those guys. I want to have chicken parm. Okay, that's a new dish. I want to see if they like it. Loaded Mexicali, maybe cauliflower puffs just to show them cauliflower. And I think that's it.
Loaded Mexicali.
Thank
Good morning from the East Village here in New York City at the Organic Grill, OG Talk. We are very excited about the episode with OG founder and genius and friend and brother, Vlad Grinberg.
I'm humble.
Genius
is good.
Genius is good. Yeah, that works out good. And today we're very excited. We have
very excited.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited, but he's really excited because he's a huge fan. I'm Sick of It All, the great band, and we have two incredible members of the band. We have Armand Majidi, and that's how you pronounce that.
Yep.
And Craig Setari. You're the drummer. He's the bass player of the band, and we're very excited. You guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
You
very
guys
much.
haven't been to the restaurant before, have you?
No, not yet. We only had the catering that you guys did.
Yeah, tell
food.
them about what
Great.
Vlad had done. You did a show in New York.
Yeah, it was
Which
us and
venue?
Agnostic Front at Bowery Electric. It was a small show. We were doing like a little borough tour. So just to finish up the year, we did really small rooms in 4 of the 5 boroughs. We tried to do the Bronx.
I know, and my
didn't
friend
work
was
out.
trying to book you, Dave, Dave Hooligan from in Zaguri. He was trying to do it, and he couldn't. Nobody wanted to give the venues. They were afraid.
Which borough?
In Bronx.
Oh, in the Bronx.
There was
no
this
way.
really small venue that almost happened, but something went
That
wrong.
was
with
in-
it.
Well,
Yeah.
and then
we
Agnostic
would've done
Front
it.
got offered to open up for the Misfits in Philly, so they jumped off, and
So we just let it be.
We
Day
had a
off.
night off. Otherwise, we would have done a Bronx show with them probably.
That's
Yeah,
too
that
bad.
food that you catered for us for that show was great.
I
The
was like so
cauliflower
excited
parmesan
to
was
watch
great.
you guys, and then I had to go to Florida, so I asked Dave to bring the food. I was very excited.
Yeah, it
The
was
Bowery
incredible.
Electric's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
venue. I've done,
Oh, whoa.
I don't know if you know the band, the Sick Fucks from, here in the neighborhood from the.
I know of them.
Yeah, they were one of the.
most.
It's still an amazing band. They did their 40th anniversary down there, so they had a bunch. We're all old friends. I'm from the neighborhood, and so to do stand up in that place was really fun for me because I've gone there all these years for the last 40 years to see bands at that venue. Do you guys prefer smaller venues, or do you?
It all depends. It all depends on the. I mean, if you play a big place and the stage is too high, and there's a barricade that puts the audience like really far away, that sucks. Like no matter
Yeah,
what,
you don't
that
have a
kinda
connection.
sucks.
Huge shows are great, and tiny shows are great, but
Yeah.
sometimes those too big clubs where there's a little bit of room in there and maybe it's not filled up and the sound echoes too much, those stink. So
Yeah.
it's the medium big places that aren't so much fun, but
Depends
huge
on-
festivals are great.
Depends
Right.
on the
Tiny clubs.
acoustics of the space too. Sometimes because you could play like a theater that will sound great, and then you play something that looks like a hangar, and the sound is just flying
it's a
around
mess.
all over the place, and you can't distinguish one thing from the other.
Because for comedy, we like low ceilings. If it's a high ceiling, we put an awning in there because that shows an intimacy and the sound doesn't
All
travel
the
up.
energy
Oh, yeah.
tends to disappear. We used to
Right.
play, what was that club in the city? We played with Helmet and with Slayer.
Oh, Roseland.
We used to play
Oh, Roseland,
Roseland,
52nd
and on
Street.
stage on stage in Roseland, the ceiling above you is like 100 feet.
Yeah.
And it just
Wow.
seems like the energy, no matter how much
like a
energy you
church,
put
huh?
forward, it just rises up and you just feel like you're killing yourself and not really putting it forward.
Delivering,
It
right?
just doesn't come off.
There was a show in
High
England
ceilings
called
stink.
The World Stands Up, and it was a bunch of comics, and it was all Jim Gaffigan and Jake Johansson and Emo Phillips, and all of us, and I was on the show and a couple other people, and the ceiling was 3 stories high. And no one was getting laughs or hearing laughs, and people are coming back from going, this sucks and it's horrible. So I learned a big lesson. There was a show called Caroline's Comedy Hour, and there was a comedian on it who was just bombing. and he was apologizing, and I'm sorry, my material is usually better. But what they did later is they sweetened it. They added laughter and applause. So this guy seems like he's crushing and apologizing for the whole thing. So I went out to the show and acted like I was killing. And I wasn't. I was just like the other guys. I did all my jokes and nobody laughed. At the end of a joke, I'd be like, I'd be like that.
Yeah,
and when you
good.
looked at it later, it looked like, because they added the laughter and applause. So sometimes you have to create your own energy.
Yeah, we gotta maybe put some like canned applause between our songs or something like that.
Yeah, you hire a
Live
guy,
record style.
keyboard. Some people hire keyboard players. You hire a guy with a little cassette tape of the audience cheering, and you add that to that. You guys started, well, I know you came a little later, but in '86 in Queens, and a lot of other things were going on in '86 in Queens during that time. Do you remember? The New York Mets won the World Series in '86 in Queens. So, were you sports fans back then?
I'm a
He was
Mets
more
fan.
of a
Me too.
baseball fan than I was. I'm a Mets fan through my family because my mom was a big Dodgers fan. So when they moved, all the Dodgers fans became Mets fans. So my family in Queens was Mets fans. So I grew up sitting next to my granddad watching Mets games.
Yeah, my father was a Brooklyn Dodger fan, as was my mother. My father became a Mets fan. My mother was so pissed that the Dodgers moved, she became a Yankee fan. And she was like, fuck the Dodgers and fuck the Brooklyn thing. So now we're in a house where my father loves the Mets and my mother loves the Yankees. And she
There are a lot
stayed.
of seasons where the Mets are a hard team to root for, though. It's
Yeah.
like rooting for the fighter that quits on his stool when he's not even hurt. Sometimes
Right.
it's
Yeah,
like that.
that's really tough.
But when they do really shine, they're as gritty as anybody,
Yeah, well, when you had Doug Flynn on the Mets, that was a tough
certain
time.
eras were really
What
really
about
great.
this year? What do you think? Well, first of all, we don't know if Beltran's going to continue.
I've been
to be
on tour for the last 2.5 years. I have no idea. It's only when we have time off or an album year where I follow baseball. The times that we're on the road all the time, I'm so busy. We're just out on the road. I don't even really. So I'm not up the last 3 years. I haven't really been following baseball at all.
But I heard that you were a competitive boxer, right? And
yeah,
you
I
use
used to
this
box.
analogy,
I used to
right?
box.
So
Yeah.
tell
yeah,
us
yeah.
about.
I just I always boxed since I was a teenager, and I became a coach later on. But nothing too crazy.
So you
to
didn't
speak
have
of.
to even hire the security, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You
Just
had
throw
double
me out,
duty.
get me beat
You had
up.
double duties,
I
right?
just get beat up for everybody.
What do you think of the road? Some people embrace it. Some people go crazy and go, I just want to get home. I just want to get through this.
The road, it can be like an emotional roller coaster a little bit because you have some really high highs and some really low lows. But over time, I think all of that is kind of steadied out for me. It's not so extreme anymore. When you're first starting out,
Because
you
of your
experience that a lot
personality
more.
And the tours are
No,
shorter
it's just getting
these
used
days.
to it. Like if you find yourself like really missing home or your woman or something like that, and
Your woman.
or you're sick, you feel horrible. Like those kind of things can really crush people's will to continue.
Right.
So
And you affecting other guys.
yeah.
right?
So I found that I was much more like fragile when I was younger, and then over time I just didn't care anymore.
We had a norovirus rip through the bus on the last tour we were on. So like 2 guys would get it. The next day, 2 more guys would get it. We were all just like terrified. Like I think
Who's gonna be next?
these guys are like
freaked out,
Right.
slathering on.
these guys are like the
disinfectant.
Exorcist. They're like
Yeah.
vomiting and then collapsing on the floor, like shaking. I'm like, oh, I don't want to get that. And so it turned out that 8 of the 20 people on the bus got it, and luckily no one in our band got it. But I was really
And guys,
dreading
you
it.
do it for a long, long time. My
Yeah.
goodness, not many
And,
families.
and
even-
maybe that
even-
helped out because I have a feeling maybe we've encountered this virus before and maybe our bodies are,
We have
like
the
a
world.
little
Right.
stronger.
Yeah, we have like the world. The
But
world
what do you
germ.
think help you to stay that long with each other? Like families collapse,
Oh,
right?
you're talking about for
Like you
just
as a
doing it.
band.
just-
Yeah.
Like how long?
I think
more
it
than
has
30 years,
I
right?
think it has a lot to do with the fact that we were friends really early on. Like I met Craig when he was like 12.
Yeah,
I was
young,
like
12 or
15 or
13.
something like that. And I went to high school with Lou and Pete. So we've known each other before the band started. We didn't like get together because musicians were looking
You
for
just
other
were friends.
musicians.
Wow.
We were friends, and then when Lou and Pete wanted to start Sick of It All, I was there. I helped out, and I ended up helping out for a solid 7 years before it became an actual
right.
real
You were a singer in
full-fledged
another
member.
band, right?
He was also playing drums in we had this band Straight Ahead. That's why
Right.
everyone calls me Craig Ahead. But he was he was the drummer in that band, and he learned to play drums just to play in that band. He was really a
Because
guitar
that was
player
the
and a
only
singer.
space available, right?
Well, yeah, because
He's like, I'll play. Like, all
Tommy
right.
was
Can you?
Tommy was the drummer, but he was also
Tommy
the
Carroll.
singer, and it was kind of an awkward thing to play these shows, playing all this like thrash hardcore stuff, and not have a front man.
Yeah.
So it was, once Tommy left the drum set, that made that space available, and I was always going to their rehearsals anyway. So they asked me if I wanted to play drums. I was like, I always would sit around and play drums anyway, just like, because I had a feel for it, I had a desire to play, and I agreed, and it ended up working out.
And he plays every instrument basically pretty well
Right.
too.
Well,
Yeah,
not
he
every
does.
instrument, just guitar, bass,
Guitar,
and
bass,
drums.
and drums.
And it's interesting, like dynamic in your band. You have two brothers. You would think like, wow, it's not a good chance that this can survive. Like you could think that they always take sides,
Like
and
Oasis.
then you're two guys.
Yeah, right.
And you guys are doing
Or it
great.
could be like Oasis, and the two brothers would
They're
hate
fighting
each
all
other.
the time
Right.
and hate each
That's
other.
true.
But you're the rhythm
We work
section.
through stuff pretty well.
Yeah. You guys are the rhythm section, so every band needs a rhythm section. A lot of audiences don't know how important the rhythm is to
exactly.
the band.
Yeah.
So the brothers probably, they're creating and doing all this stuff, but they need a good rhythm section. You guys have a relationship between you guys
Yeah.
that's unspeakable.
We've been playing together for a very
And you
long
have a
time.
reputation. Your nickname is Hammer, right?
No, not really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
no,
that's
no,
what
but
I
every
was
every chronicles I listen to, when they ask about who is the best drummer, your name always comes up.
Oh, thank you.
He's got a lot of
Thank
nicknames: Goose, Grouse,
Yeah.
Why?
The-
Why?
The can.
the Can,
Can.
Goon.
Oh wow!
It's the
yeah,
things you
getting
do when you're
stuff.
stuck in a bus together for a month.
Right.
You just come up with
You
stuff.
start calling each other names. Eating-wise, you guys are healthy eaters, right? You
Oh,
vegans
too
and
much.
vegetarians.
I'm vegetarian. I'm
Vegetarian, yeah.
lacto-ovo. I haven't quite made the jump yet. I mean, I did for a while back, a long time ago actually, probably around 20 years ago. I went vegan, and it only lasted like a year and a half.
It's not easy.
On the
It's
road,
not
it's
easy.
particularly difficult.
Yeah.
At home,
Yeah.
it's doable.
There was one
people-
time where we flew into Europe, and the very first stop in the bus was a Czech gas station. And the only things that I could eat were potato chips or candy.
Right.
As a vegan.
Right.
So those are the moments where you think to yourself, "Wow, I'm not prepared for this." And
Especially you're so physical on your instruments.
yeah, exactly. So
And how about you,
Craig,
Craig?
you are growing your own fruits and vegetables, right, on a farm?
Yeah, I have a.
You heard about
I live
that.
on a farm in upstate New York.
I did
and,
my research.
Yeah, so
I asked all the right people. I have it all here. Koller sent me information. A lot of people helped me
So
out.
tell us about the farm.
I picked it up. I bought it back in 2010. It's nice and spacious. It connects to my sister's property, which is hundreds of acres, and I grow my own plot, but I don't do something too big because we're always on tour. So I have to
Right.
set it from the outside spigot of the house on a timer. So it's a drip timer. So I'd say a
So your
space.
vegetables and fruits just growing automatically. You're not even.
Yeah, when I'm home, I weed and check it out. And my mother, she loves to garden, so she comes with
farming
me and
on
does
demand,
it.
basically.
But I have enough food. Sometimes the crop will get messed up because we'll be on tour and something will go wrong, and I'll come home a month later and something went wrong. But generally, I get a lot of tomatoes, salad fixings, some nice stuff. It's great. I love it.
That's great.
Nothing
Well,
like
we're gonna
fresh
treat
vegetables.
you to some amazing food now.
I bet.
One of the beauties of doing this show is that the food here in this restaurant is ridiculously amazing. I don't even order. I let Vlad. I come here and I go, Vlad, what should we eat? And he, whatever he, I swear to you, not just because I'm not even getting paid or whatever food. Yeah, but the food here is amazing, and Vlad will tell you about this one. This is one of my favorites
let me start
right
with
here.
something you
Ooh,
know,
yeah, that
so
looks
it's
good.
easier to.
Some form of cauliflower.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
It's
there's
not the
always some
buffalo.
form
So
of
this is,
loveliness.
It's like an Asian.
burrito.
Burrito, which you made
Limited
especially.
edition, sick of it
Nice.
all, limited edition.
Awesome.
He was worried that it's not on the menu.
Yeah.
All right, those are, so this is burrito.
And what's
Those
in
are
the burrito? What's in the burrito?
Rice, avocado, we have
Diamond.
mushrooms. This is
Delicious.
something that you tried when I brought it to you. It's a chicken parm.
Oh, these are mushrooms, right?
Oyster
Yeah,
mushroom.
oyster
And
mushroom.
this is a new dish. We never had it. I tried it on you.
Uh-huh.
Everybody likes it, so now
Awesome.
it's gonna be a dish.
Yeah.
And this is all loaded fries, and we have it with cheese. I didn't want to bring it to you when I brought the food because it would
Your
be...
cheese is made from cashews?
No, coconut oil.
Okay.
Oh, really?
What's the prep on this dish?
This one?
No, this one.
Oh, this is cauliflower pop. We season it and we flour it with corn flour, and we fry. So it's going to be crispy and nice. You should try.
Beautiful.
Let me give
You
this
can
to
just
you.
move
We
it
start
all to
putting-
crack. He's gonna.
Yeah. Put some of that in there, and then
I have to maintain
Integrity.
composure.
integrity and the weight
Like Armand told
Won't
me,
be
just a
easy.
little bit of encouragement. Crack can do it.
Yeah.
If there were no cameras here, it'd be a different story.
When we're on tour, I have this like fear of running out of food. So when we're on tour, we're living in a van or a tour bus.
Yeah.
So I always feel like, where's my next meal coming from? But
That's
when
true.
I'm home, I'm calmer because I know I can just get food at home or get something anywhere.
Or go to your backyard.
Yeah. I get very nervous though when we're on tour. When it
That's
comes
interesting. Has that been your whole life like that with food?
To
Or?
that. Yeah, I think so. Always been. Plus, I'm a little bit of a pasta addict.
Well,
Pasta
that-
and pizza, you know.
Yeah.
So that
He's very self-reflective,
I
right?
can eat a lot. I can eat a lot. I can eat like if you put good pasta in front of me, I can just keep eating until I explode, basically.
So tell us
Yeah,
about
it's frightening,
tell us
actually.
about the hardcore scene when you guys first started, because you guys were there at the forefront. This was
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
it's very exciting to it's to talk to people who a lot of people. There are very few people in the world who start out a scene.
Yeah,
Punk scene,
they were not the first, but
not
definitely
first,
the
but
beginning.
We're like
of
the
it.
first of the second wave.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the way I look at it, and to put it in a bulk terminology, New York hardcore, as we know, it started around 1980.
Mm-hmm.
So that first wave kind of finished up in '84, and that's around the
And
time.
who influenced you from that era? Who
I
were
would
your
say
big influences?
in New York, Agnostic Front,
Cro-Mags,
yeah, Cro-Mags, Murphy's Law,
Urban Waste.
yeah, stuff, and
The Mob.
the Mob, definitely, and DC Minor Threat. Obviously, the Bad Brains were a big influence.
Oh yeah.
So stuff like that. A lot of English punk as well. Discharge and the Exploited, which are Scottish, but yeah, stuff
Were
like
you guys
that.
playing music as kids growing up, like just in bands, or maybe just rock and roll at the beginning, and then eventually went to hardcore? Or did you go straight into
Metal
hardcore?
first.
Metal.
Metal first.
Rock and metal, yeah.
Well, yeah, it was like hard rock. In the 70s, it was hard rock and early heavy metal.
Whatever
you know.
my brother brought home, my older brother.
That's
Gotcha.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he would bring home an Aerosmith record, a Motorhead record. When I was 6 years old, he locked me in his friend's room on a rainy day when it was thunderstorming out and put on the first Black Sabbath album
Oh yeah.
with the lights out, which has rain and thunderstorms, and I cried in the room, and they let me out, and a week later,
It was like
now
torture.
now we know who to blame.
now
for
you
to
know
be
why
in
I'm in the
position.
hardcore scene, but a week later I came back and I said, I'm going to listen again, I won't cry.
Wow.
And I got into Sabbath at that point. And eventually, like, a few years later, Motorhead came into the house, and that's kind of where it looked like, whoa, Sabbath and Motorhead, kind of, I like heavy, aggressive music.
Guys, over career, you played with amazing people, right? I read that you even played with Joe Strummer, right?
This is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
And he.
We got to play with almost, Judas Priest, Iron
So
Maiden,
good.
like a lot of the bands that we grew up
Did you hear
listening to.
Yeah.
Played with Motorhead.
Played with
tons
Motorhead.
of
And
times.
congratulations, I heard from Lou, he came in to eat. I was like trying to get in touch with him. I come to the restaurant, and Lou is sitting in the restaurant eating.
Oh, wow.
And what shirt do you think he was wearing? He was wearing Cormac. So
Oh,
I took
yeah.
a picture, sent it to John immediately. John is like, yep, right on. But you guys are going to play with Metallica this year, right? On a
Yeah,
festival.
we
That's so
did
cool.
a tour with them in Australia back, what year was that? 2015 or 14?
Earlier than that. Must
it?
have been like maybe 2011 or 12
I don't think it
or
was
something.
that long ago because that was
I
when I
think
was
so.
really skinny when I lost all that weight. So I couldn't have been that long ago. It was probably 13
I
to
read
15.
somewhere that I think you said it on one of the interviews that we are reality-based band.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't like. What do you mean by that?
Well, because we try not to ever really involve any kind of fantasy in what we do. We are who we are. We don't pretend to be something else. We don't have like stage personas or anything like that. We don't go out dressed in a special way. We're really pretty plain, ordinary
I
guys.
agree.
And that's
And this is what hardcore is about,
and
right?
all,
Like
all
we-
of our lyrics also are reality based. We don't, always just try to sing about the things that really frustrate us, the things about the world that we see as injustices and things like that. So it's all we try to stay in the realm of reality as much as possible.
Yeah, the reality and fantasy are two terms that we have been using since we were young, and like other bands have adapted it as well. Like Madball Hoya will always say stuff like that. So it's this little like way of describing things within our scene. You know, like, oh, that's total fantasy. Oh, that's reality. That's, you know, reality is like, that's great.
And even the term like you are real, right? Or you're real. Yeah, that's
Never shy away.
You know, it's also how you treat people. Like, I could be exhausted if some kid comes up to me like, hey, you guys, I love you guys, blah, blah. I'm not going to ever be like, yeah, get out of here. I'm going to stop and talk to this kid and treat him well, because that's what, if it wasn't for a kid like that, what do you have?
I see a lot of time when people come in and John is eating here and they're like, oh, wow, we have big fans. He said, I don't have fans, I only have friends. Which is so true.
And he spits his food all over.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's not
But that's
fair.
good. The kid doesn't have to order any food. He just has to wipe it
If
from
the
his
kid
face
gets
and
too
eat it.
close,
Like, thank you so much.
If the kid gets too close, he might lose a few fingers or toes.
Yeah.
It's all right,
That's
no.
the first counterpunch.
Yeah.
Right. 1-0.
Human tornado.
1-0,
Booster!
It's really great. Now, tell me about Strummer. I'm a huge Clash fan. I got to see him.
I didn't
when
get to
they
meet
played.
him.
Really?
I didn't get to meet him. Lou and Pete met him, and they got the famous picture
Yeah, I
with
didn't
him.
really
and
speak to him
everything.
either.
And so they kind of took that on their own. You know,
that was
like that was their thing.
Yeah, that connected.
What kind of music was in your house when you were really young? You know, like you said, your brother.
Total 70s.
Right.
Like some like country music and like just popular songs at the time.
Your
Like
You're talking about
parents
like
playing
Glenn
stuff?
Campbell.
talking about the first albums we owned.
Yeah, like when you were kids. You know.
Ted Nugent, Cat Scratch Fever.
Wow.
That was my first record.
My first record was at the same time the Grease record,
Right.
and the first Sabbath album. So like, you know, I got the Grease record for Christmas when I was like 5 or 6 years old. You know, they were good songs. They still
Yeah,
are. You know, what
they
I mean?
are.
You can make fun of it, but those were some good songs. So I was like 5 or 6 years old, and like somehow the Grease record was in my house. So I kind of adapted that, and the early Sabbath.
That's why we call him Broadway Craig Setari.
Yeah.
Ah, that's fantastic.
Nobody
So
calls me that.
you're going to create a musical based on the hardcore scene.
Pat Mike already did that in the punk scene.
Oh, right. That's
But
right.
stuff like that, and you know, AC/DC.
And you were
The Who.
one of the first
Right,
who
The
were
Who
on
for me as
top,
well.
top 100, right? That like out of all the bands of hardcore, you was the first who got to top 100, right?
I think that's probably true. Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure on that, but it
That's
probably
what I
sounds
had.
about right.
Yeah. The other thing for me is, you know, when you guys had started out like in the 80s, late 86, first album was a few years later. But as you grew, your albums got better and better and stronger, and then all of a sudden it took a while for it to happen. What was it like for you through those years? Was there a frustration? Was there a knowledge like, okay, all we need to do is be patient?
Well, we always felt that there was room to grow, you know, and we knew how raw the first album was, how quickly it was done. It was done over 3 days, 19 songs recorded and mixed in 3 days.
What, because
So-
of necessity, money?
No time, no money.
Yeah,
Right.
there was no. The
I actually went
budgets
up
are
and
really
helped
low.
them with it. I went up and like tuned the
Yeah.
guitars so it could go faster.
Yeah, he was involved in
I
the
wrote
first
some
record.
lyrics and a couple of riffs because they were in such a hurry. It was like, okay.
Because back then he
I'll help.
wasn't on bass.
Right.
Back
I
then
was
he
his friend.
was he was just hanging out.
I was in Agnostic Front at the time.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Playing bass for Agnostic Front, but just to help them out because we're friends. I was like, and I had a lot of experience in the studio, so I was like, yeah, I'll help you guys out. This way you
Wow,
guys can
that's
just
nice.
play. Instead of Pete sitting there changing the
Even,
strings, I would just do it.
We had a song, the Blood and the Sweat, that we
That's
didn't
his,
have lyrics for, and he wrote it.
You
Yeah,
wrote
yeah,
something
that's
too.
I know,
I think we
right.
wrote it
yeah,
together.
yeah.
And like some of the riffs, like the chorus to Bullshit
Right.
Justice I wrote like another riff somewhere in there. But like if there was an old riff that I would play when we would all mess around, they would be like, hey, I'm going to use this in a song. Like, yeah, go ahead. Who
Well,
cares?
that's a real
Yeah, we're all friends,
camaraderie.
doesn't matter.
That's incredible.
No ego at all.
Well, we want to talk about where the band had moved to and where you guys are today. But first, we're going to take this break. We're going to eat some, and we'll catch you on the way back.
I've been eating this whole time.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. This is Rachel Atchison with OG Talks News You Can Use. Today I'm going to chat about Everhope Capital, a venture capital firm by the Anderson family who is truly trying to change the world to be more humane, more equitable, healthy, sustainable, etc. So they are investing in companies all over the world. A couple of my favorite companies our gel tour. They're creating a vegan gelatin out there. So for those who have been missing vegan gummy bears, don't worry, they'll soon be back. But more importantly, they're actually replacing a lot of gelatin that's in makeup products, etc. They invested in New Moo cheese, which is on a lot of my favorite cheesy pizzas across town. Good Catch Foods, which is an amazing product in Whole Foods that's offering plant-based seafood. Blue Not Lou, who's using cellular aquaculture to make cell-based fish products. Wild Earth, another favorite, trying to get our pets to be plant-based. So pets can be a healthy vegan, they can have a healthy vegan diet, and Wild Earth is trying to make that happen for them. Thanks so much. This is News You Can Use with OG Talks.
Welcome back, everybody. We've been enjoying the food and talking about our favorite politicians, and we'll keep that off the air so that we don't get sick. But you can see that the food is being eaten. It's been really incredible. We were talking about being on the road, how hard it is to find.
First, let me say how amazing this cheese sauce is. This is like
yeah.
incredible. It's like
Good
right,
job.
and
Very
it's made
good. So succulent.
with coconut oil, right? That's
Great.
what it is.
Great.
As opposed to a lot of them that are made mostly with nuts and
And
cashew.
soon we're going to get vegetables from your farm, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you
Fresh
go.
tomatoes.
I'm guessing nutritional yeast.
Yeah, some additional yeast, mustard, a lot of seasonings.
Oh,
in it.
nice.
Yeah, mustard.
Yeah, it's
there you go.
delicious.
Yeah, it's really, really
Gives you
good.
cheddary flavor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Beavis and Butt-Head. You had a
Oh,
song
yeah.
on Beavis and Butt-Head. How cool
Step
is
down.
that?
Yeah, it was great, especially
one of
because they
my
reacted
favorite
so
songs,
well
yeah.
to it. Like, you know, when we heard initially that they had featured the song, we had no idea what to expect.
Figured they'd rip us apart.
Yeah, because you know the way they operated, they were like a lot of videos just really didn't make the cut. And ours did, and they really liked it, and they even came up with, because the video features different hardcore dances with the different names of the dances, so they came up with their own Beavis and Butt-Head dances that they did, and it was great. It was a great thing. It didn't really do anything for us, popularity-wise.
It
I
did.
never.
At that period, though, we were on like MTV and
Yeah, but
it was a
like
big
there was
time.
no jump in our popularity because of it. I was thinking that there might be because
Right.
you know Beavis and Butt-Head. It was like a really, really big show at that time, and maybe I don't know, reached some kids, but
It was more
nobody ever
general. Our
nobody ever came up
popularity went up
to
in
us and
general
said, "Oh,
at
I
that
first
point."
heard you guys on Beavis and Butt-Head." Never happened.
So what's going on now? What's next for you guys? I know you're touring with Metallica. We talked about that.
South America in March. We're doing a South American
Central
tour.
and South America.
Central and South America in March. I think 10 shows over like 15,
Which
14
countries?
days.
You know, Colombia,
Costa Rica,
Costa Rica is
Colombia.
incredible. Talk
Never
about
been.
great food, and they call these things blue zones. I don't know if you know about that. And in Costa Rica, they have one of them is a blue zone where the food's the best, the oxygen's amazing, the people live longer. You'll enjoy that. But anyway, other
it's
places.
Costa Rica,
country.
Peru,
Eco-friendly.
Colombia, Mexico, and Argentina and Brazil.
Chile and Brazil.
Chile.
Have you guys been to any of these places before?
Yeah, South America we've been, and Mexico, but never in Central America.
But more often you go to Europe. Europe, you're very big, right?
Yeah,
Europe's
is
our
often.
bread and butter, has been since the early 90s.
Isn't it interesting through time, through life? You know, in the 60s and 70s, you know, guys like in England, like John Mayall's and the Blues Breakers and these kind of guys, they were the first people to find this incredible soul music and bring it to the kids and to the Beatles and to all these bands. And in America, it takes longer for this great soul music or this soulful music to get into the, you know, on top 40. Like you guys do really well in England. You know, there's so many, like Chuck Berry or Little Richard, they were popular in England before they were popular in America. What do
there
you
is
think?
this weird understanding of music that exists over there, and an appreciation for what American music really is. When if you're European, but then Americans look at things differently. Americans kind of need. It seems like to me that they
Validation from
need
somebody
some
else.
kind of validation by the mainstream. If they don't have that mainstream validation, they're very cautious about the stuff they listen to, or you know, if something is from a kind of a weird scene artistically, you know, like the way punk and hardcore was, people are very kind of slow to embrace
They
it.
need to be told what to do to a degree, which sucks.
Which is a shame, and it's, you know, it opposite of what you guys do. What you guys do is you tell the truth and you're honest. You know, in America, instead of hearing Little Richard, we heard Pat Boone or Fabian sing the song. Instead, you know, but the message that you guys have is the message that should resonate through everything. It's just tell the truth, be honest, be yourself.
Right.
Reality. There you go.
And also, I heard on one of the interviews when you say it's all about relevancy, right? We are doing it for so long. If we stop, then we're just becoming like a band who plays the same songs,
the same thing over and over and over again. And you know, I mean, there are. And we were talking about the first album earlier. There are a lot of people that think that for some reason that first album like captured something really amazing. Meanwhile, I listen to it, I'm like, oh God, you know, I'm like embarrassed.
Yeah, and everybody is saying that your music became just even more melodic, and now you have this opportunity to stay and really create. I heard Lou talking about last album, how you created it. You all took three weeks to go and do it in separate places, and you did it together. And,
it was weird. We weren't even prepared for that, and we were both worried. Like, how's this going to sound? We're so unprepared, and it came out to be, I think, one of our best.
We had a strange deadline. It was something that we decided in January that we were going to put this album together. Got together in February, and it was finished by the end of May.
And the cover, holy
moly,
this dragon.
What's the cover?
It's our dragon. It's like a tattoo flash dragon that we have as our logo, brought to life in a way, in like a kind of old movie poster style, like a 50s movie poster, kind of thriller looking.
Like King Kong on the Empire State Building, but the dragon instead.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's what it was. It was an idea that I've had for a really, really long time. I've always wanted to see that done. And then Lou came up with the idea that he wanted it to resemble an old movie poster. So we put the two ideas together and it worked perfectly, and Ernie did a great job. Ernie Parada. He's a really great artist. We've known him since the old days when he used to play in Gilligan's Revenge and Token Entry and, you know, Black Train Jack. You know, an old friend of ours that did the artwork for us. It came out amazing. And
I think that across the board in hardcore, there is such a respect to other bands and old friends. I didn't see it anywhere else. Like I never heard somebody bashing another band. Like everybody I talk to, that you're coming. Great guys. We love to have them on the road. We have so much fun. They told me stories about you
tell
guys.
Us one of the stories.
Okay, so Hoy has a message for you that he thinks that he's the best bass player, not you.
I think he's the best bass player too. He's my favorite bass player.
Yeah, there you go. So he's just cut the legs out under his. He's trying to shit on you, and you go, no, he is the best player.
Then he
can't take his legs out.
Yeah. Then he asked me to ask you about Shack House in Queens.
Oh, Shack House.
Yeah, we used to have an apartment back in like 1989.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Armand, myself, and our friend John Devil, who's a bus driver, sheriff of the alleyway. And Hoya, when he was really young, used to come over with his friend Ed to our apartment, and usually it was to hide from the police or, you know, something like that. Something like that.
So he didn't think that he's bringing the heat on you guys.
No.
Yeah, we had some fun times over there.
It was like a safe haven for him.
Yeah.
And I think you guys saved each other, because who knows what would have happened to you guys if you wouldn't be together, right? A lot of people would go different routes, and who knows how it would end up for you.
That's the difference with a band, is that, you know, you look out for each other. You know, the other guys are brothers, and naturally they're going to look out for each other. But you become brothers, traveling, living together. You're family. You're married, almost like a marriage.
Tell me about the game, Mafia game you guys play.
It's not our game.
Who turned us on?
No, not our, but
yeah,
you guys play.
It's mainly just Craig and I. The other
we
guys,
got it from
Pete and Lou,
the band
never
from
played.
Boston.
Yeah, Unearth.
Unearth turned us on to it, and they turned on Madball as well. So Unearth turned us on, and then Madball kind of parlayed that and turned us onto it as well. And it's like a fun game, but you wind up.
What is the game?
It's this It's a card role play game. You do it on tour, and everyone yells, and you almost have fist fights with your friends.
Yeah.
It's a little. It's a
like
little
categories.
It's a little much, but it's fun.
It can get pretty intense.
Yeah,
If
but
you
that's
have 20 people that don't know each other on tour and you play a night of that, everybody's friends afterwards, and all the barriers.
That's the great thing about
what's
it,
cool
is the
about
fact that that game, more than any other thing,
Breaks down barriers.
brings together all the bands that are touring with each other. Because even if you just get like 2 guys from this band, 3 guys from that band, 1 guy from this other band, all of a sudden everybody knows each other.
That
Everybody's
helps out
friends.
if you don't know the people and you're spending so much time together.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and it's kind of tragic sometimes when I'll run into somebody and they'll be. I mean, I have a horrible memory for faces.
The worst memory
anyway.
ever.
Worst ever.
But
But
you
That's how he doesn't remember bad stuff.
doesn't remember
right?
yeah, right. And you have such a bad memory, you don't remember that you don't have a good memory. So that works out.
but
Shot.
there have been times where guys come up to me and it's not, and they're like, but we toured together for like a month. I'm like, I really have no recollection.
And I'm like doing this to him, like, yeah, just play along.
You guys, your friend, come on.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
There's those
but
games
you know
that
why?
you
I'm
do.
reality based. I
Right,
can't, I
there
can't
you go.
lie.
Right, that's the truth.
Oh, you can't lie. Yeah.
Vlad, do we have anyone to shout out to this week on our show? We have a lot of friends who have incredible podcasts and webcasts, and we're a good community too here, where we look out for each other.
Just wanted to say thank you to Veg Talk, Matt. He always helped me and basically taught us some basic about podcast. Lauren Passell from Podcast Newsletters, she was very good for us, and we are looking forward to have a meeting with you discussing what we do right and what we do wrong. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys coming down.
Yeah,
Thanks
Vlad
for having
has
us,
been
man.
so excited to meet you because he hadn't really, had the face-to-face, and
I saw you on the stage so many times with John, but I never
Okay,
talked to you.
okay.
And for me, it's been really, really great.
And I
as well.
forgot to ask you, I'm
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
let's-
Another last thing.
It's okay.
I know that there was a lab that was like testing how you play, and they had some results for you,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That's
Tell me.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't all that surprising because I've been wearing a Fitbit for a few years, and I also, when I was at home one time, I had like a heart rate monitor that I strapped on myself. So I've kind of gone through this before just with my own research. So it was great that I was
But
able
what did they,
to get this
what was the conclusion?
study. Just that I don't know, like I play pretty hard.
Pure animal was the
So
conclusion.
yeah, I play like a caveman. There's very little finesse in what I do. So there was no surprise that I burn a little bit more calories than your average drummer, and I
I
don't
think
know.
this is an understatement. Everybody says that you're the strongest drummer they ever seen.
That's only because I keep my playing so simple. Simplicity, you can put as much power in it as you want, and it'll still come off sounding right.
But
Who's
the-
your favorite drummer of all time?
Of all time,
Well, or in the top.
Clive Burr, early Iron Maiden,
Right.
Les Binks, early Judas Priest,
Phil Taylor.
Phil Taylor, yeah,
Please tell
Motorhead,
him what
He
definitely.
played because he
Yeah,
plays
right.
more like that.
That's how
Phil-
they know each
Phil
other.
Taylor from Motorhead, he plays kind
Yeah,
of like that.
it's true.
Strong
And
and
Craig,
aggressive.
your
That's true,
favorite
that's
bass
true.
players?
Hoya?
In general, Hoyer
You're
of
telling
course,
him
is number
now.
one. But James Jamerson, who played with the Funk Brothers and all the
Yes.
Motown stuff, Lemmy, Daryl from the Bad Brains,
That's true, right?
guys like that, John Entwistle.
Right. Yeah, we talked about The Who already, where we know we're friends with
Steve
The Who.
Harris from Iron Maiden, I liked a lot, especially in the early stuff.
And also tell us about your social media. How can nowadays to get music, can go to a store, but how do we get
Danny
your
Loker.
music? Oh, there you go. But how do we get
buddy.
And
how do
your
we get your
merchandise and
yeah?
all
How do
the
we
stuff.
get people out here to get your merchandise?
Well,
get your music?
we're on Century Media Records, so wherever Century Media is sold, you can
Spell
get it.
Centra. It's CENTRE. Centra.
Oh no, with a
Like
Y.
Century.
Century Media.
Century Media. Okay.
Yeah, it's a German-based label, but they have an office in LA as well.
We have
And,
merch available, 518 merchandise, which
Or
is also
it's
called
also-
All In.
Yeah.
But their mail order is 518.
Is it? Okay, well. it's
Great,
nice.
'cause we want
Different
people to.
companies,
You
technically.
forgot already, right?
Yeah,
No,
there's Mr. Memory for you.
If you put in All In, Sick of It All, you'll find our,
Yeah,
it'll direct you
518 is where
directly
it's
to our
mail
web
order.
store.
All In
And
is there.
honestly, these shorts and
Production.
sweatshirts and hats are awesome, guys. You should get it.
Well, we appreciate you coming down. We know you came
Thanks
in
for
from
having
out of
us.
town.
Thank you, Eddie.
Guys,
It's such
thank
a
you
pleasure.
very
Cool.
much.
Glad.
Take care.
Thank you
you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you, man.
For
let's see.
for OG Talk, I'm Eddie Brill. Have a beautiful day.
Guys,
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
subscribe, rate, review us.
Subscribe.
Thank you.
Yes.